Hey, Modular Mechanic here. I want to do a quick information slash unboxing of the Moto Mod Development Kit, or the MDK. So I've got one here. The only thing in the box is the MDK itself. A little booklet doesn't really have much in it. It's just some warranty stuff. The actual MDK itself is right here. So just plugs right into your Moto Z. It's a normal mod. And so the fun stuff is under this plastic cover here. So what we were talking about in the last video about the muck and the Moto high-speed bridge, the MDK has all of the chips you'll need integrated within the mod itself to get you started. So all you have to do is upload your own firmware, and then you'll be good to go. The interfaces are all mapped out to these pins down here. So there are 80 connections, and the more useful connections, such as 5 volts ground, I2S and stuff, those are mapped out to these a little bit bigger pads, which are easier to solder to. And then up here you just have a normal perf board, which just helps you solder in ICs and passives and stuff like that. So this board here can snap right out. So this is pretty cool because you can work on a module, and then say you finish it or want to start something else, you can just buy another perf board and you'll have a brand new surface to work with. You can also buy, they sell one of these that works with the Raspberry Pi headers, which allow you to connect a Raspberry Pi hat if you want to start development just on the firmware side and you want to start with hardware that already exists for the Raspberry Pi. You can do that. And they also have some example personality cards, they call them. So they have a display, a battery, an audio, and I think a couple other boards that are already made up that you can just snap into here, and you just get started right away with the firmware development. You can also, they haven't released the part number for it yet, but you can actually buy this 80-pin connector here if you want to make your own circuit board that directly integrates. So you probably, once you're done with the proto board here, you'll want to, the next step will be to make your own circuit board that's all integrated and everything. Other than that, we have these dip switches here, which I'll talk more about, but they basically turn on and off the Moto high-speed bridge and USB connections, and just basically tell the muck and your Moto Z what features you'll be using. And we also have 3 USB here. These 2 are USB Type-C. This is just a normal micro USB 2.0. And I believe this is used for debugging. This can be used as an actual USB 3.0 port, just basically the same as on your actual phone. And then this can be used as a micro USB 2.0 port, again, pretty much the same way. Or you can also use it as a micro display port if you need that. There's also, in this little gap right here, there's an LED underneath, which is used in the Blinky example, which is essentially the Moto Hello World sort of thing for the Moto mods. So to get the Blinky Hello World program running, first you're going to need to download the MDK utility app on your Moto Z. So this app will show you some information about the mod currently attached. It'll let you upload firmware to your MDK, and also allow you to switch the mode of the MDK, which I'll talk about in a second. So as you can see, there's no mod attached, so everything is NA. But when we plug the MDK in, the mod comes up as having a name of MDK Blinky, because it's running the Blinky example, and it has a vendor ID and a product ID. Every mod developer is given their own VID, and that'll be unique to each vendor, and then within each vendor gets to decide for each product what their product ID is going to be. And what this allows you to do is, as a mod developer, once the MotoZ detects that that your mod has been plugged in on anyone's phone, it'll automatically download the latest firmware and install it to the mod. So the VID of 312, that is just for the MDK example modules, and that'll never be used for an actual vendor. So this way, another vendor won't push out a firmware update that will wipe the functionality of your MDK while you're developing with it. So in the example mode, we can't edit the firmware. We have to switch to developer mode for that. But just for the example, you can see we have this MDK LED light toggle. So when I turn it off, you can see the LED on the back doesn't do anything. But when it's on, it starts toggling. So this is pretty much all there is to the Hello World example. And on Motorola's website, they go into detail about how to make this yourself. So that's something that I'll want to do eventually on this channel later on in the series. So we'll get to that pretty soon. The only other thing I want to talk about is the mode. So with the MDK, you can also switch to developer mode. So all that does is switch the vendor ID to 42. Vendor ID 42 is not used for any mod, so you can upload any firmware you want and it'll never be overwritten. The MDK utility also lets you flash the firmware of the MDK from the app using this firmware update feature, so you can just compile it on your computer, upload it to your phone, and then install it from here. And the other way to upload firmware is to using the USB port here, plug it directly into your laptop, and upload the firmware from there. Alright, so that's the basics about the MDK. Let me know what you guys want to see in the next video. Make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.